Good morning, grade 7 students. Welcome to Valenzuela Life Science 7 class. We are now in the week 6 of our second quarter. Our lesson for today is to differentiate biotic from abiotic components in an ecosystem. Before we start, let me remind you of a rule that we must observe throughout our lesson, and that is to use the comment section in asking and answering questions. Are you ready? Excellent. Let's start. Let us have a review about the concepts you have learned from the previous topic on reproduction, which is the asexual and sexual reproduction. Using this Venn diagram, let us fill out the missing information by choosing the answer from the word bank so we can complete the details of each statement. I will give you 5 seconds to type your answer in the comment section. Ready? Let's begin. Let us begin in statement letter A and B. How many parents is involved in asexual and sexual reproduction? Type your answer in the comment section. Time's up. The correct answer is for asexual, 1, whereas in sexual reproduction, 2 organisms are required. Let's proceed in statement letters C and D, this time in terms of offspring in reproduction. Between asexual and asexual, which one has identical and non-identical to the genetic material? 5 seconds to type your answer in the comment section. Great! The answer in asexual is genetically identical to the parent. For sexual, it is unidentical because offspring in sexual reproduction is mixed of genetic materials from both parents. Let us have statement letter E and F. In terms of energy and resources, which between asexual and sexual has less and more requirement? 5 seconds to type your answer in the comment section. in our future. Our ecosystem is basically made up of objects and organisms. Next is consumers or heterotrophs, which obtain energy from producers or other consumers. Most consumers are animals. Consumers may be further classified as to whether they feed only on producers or known as herbivores, only on other consumers known as carnivores, or a mixture of producers and consumers known as omnivores. Lions are an example of carnivores. Sheep are herbivores. Bears are omnivores. Third is the decomposers or detritivores, which break down chemicals made by producers and consumers into simpler molecules. The products made by decomposers may be used by producers. Fungi, earthworms, and some bacteria are called decomposers. Biotic factors relate to all the living things in the ecosystem. Their presence and their biological byproducts affect the composition of an ecosystem. Abiotic factors refer to all the non-living, such as chemical and physical factors present in an ecosystem. Sunlight, air, rain, minerals, and soil are some examples of abiotic factors. These factors have a significant impact on the survival and reproduction of species in an ecosystem. For instance, without an adequate amount of sunlight, plants may not be able to survive and produce foods. When these organisms eventually die, it will create a shortage of food for animals. This change affects the food chain and will deeply impact every organism. Consequently, it leads to an imbalance in the ecosystem. An abiotic factor can either be chemical or in a physical presence. Abiotic factors fall into three basic categories, namely climatic, edaphic, and physiographic. Climatic factors include humidity, sunlight, and factors involving the climate. Here are the other factors involved in abiotic component under climatic factors. Number 1 is sunlight. It is essential for the process of photosynthesis. Producers, such as plants, rely directly on the sun. Organisms, such as animals, use light from the sun indirectly by consuming plants or other animals. Next is temperature. This varies greatly across different parts of the earth and throughout the year. Temperature affects the rate of evaporation and rainfall and causes seasonal changes in the weather. Number 3 would be the water. It is one of the most important factors in the ecosystem. It is the main component of living cells and is essential for all living organisms. About 80% of the human body and 90% of the plant consist of water. Next is the wind. This speeds up evaporation and assists in pollination of plants and the dispersal of their seeds. And last, for climatic factor, we have the air, which is composed of nitrogen, oxygen, and other important gases. Respiration is not possible without the air. The next abiotic component category is known as edaphic factors. It refers to soil conditions. So, edaphic abiotic factors include soil and geography of the land. Edaphic factors affect the organisms such as bacteria and plant life that define certain types of ecosystems. There are certain plant and animal types that can only grow to specific areas of a particular soil type. For example, a cactus in the desert. Last, we have the physiographic factor, which are those associated with the physical nature of the area. The main physiographic factors we will look at are slopes and altitude. First is the slope, which is the gradient or steepness of a particular surface of the earth. The slope affects the rate of water flow. The soil tends to be shallow and unproductive with reduced plant growth when there is less water flow. A gentle slope, on the other hand, favors slower flow of surface water, reduces erosion, and increases availability of water to plants. Lastly is the altitude, which is the height of the land above sea level. At high altitudes, the temperature is lower, the wind speed is greater, and the rainfall is less often. Environments at higher altitudes are also more likely to experience snow or cool conditions, such as here in the Philippines, we have Baguio and Tagaytay. Plants growing at mid-altitudes experience more stunted growth. Plants at sea level are abundant. In a balanced ecosystem, the community of living biotic organisms interacts with abiotic components in the environment. Anything affecting any factor of an ecosystem can change the balance and force organisms to adapt or die. A balanced ecosystem represents a healthy habitat with interconnection of animals, plants, microorganisms, and their environment. Balanced ecosystems display enough energy and material going around in and between all biotic and abiotic components. So, as human beings, our responsibility is to take care and preserve our ecosystem for future generations. Since you already learned about the biotic and abiotic factors, let us do this activity. We will now go back to the picture of nature that you saw a while ago. At this point, you will be classifying these organisms as either biotic or abiotic component. For biotic, we have to identify whether it is a producer, consumer, or decomposer. For abiotic, we will identify if it is climatic, edaphic, or physiographic. You will type your answers in the comment section. Ready? Great! Let's begin. First, let us name the biotic factors. We have the consumers. Can you name which biotic organisms are considered as consumers in this picture? I will give you 5 seconds to type your answer in the comment section. Great! We have fish, birds, and insects. How about the producers? 5 seconds to type your answer. We have trees and grass. Correct. And last, who are the decomposers? I will give you 5 seconds to type your answer in the comment section. We have microorganisms and bacteria. Good job, dear students. This time, let us have the abiotic components. Once again, you will be typing your answers in the comment section. First, let us identify what is or are the climatic factors in this picture. I will give you 5 seconds to type your answers. Go! So in here, we have the sun, water, rainfall, and of course the air. How about edaphic factors? I will give you 5 seconds to type your answers. We have the soil. That includes its texture and condition. Lastly, what would be the physiographic factors? I will give you another 5 seconds to type your answers. So in here, we have the land slope. As you can see, a gentle slope increases availability of water to plants. Hence, plants are abundant. In addition, the altitude in this type of ecosystem is also favorable since it is within sea level, which is highly important in plant growth. Great job, dear students! Thank you for your responses. Before we wrap up our lesson today, let us summarize what you have learned through this table of comparison. By definition, abiotic refers to the non-living chemical and physical factors in the environment, which affects the ecosystems. Biotic, on the other hand, describes a living component of an ecosystem. Examples of abiotic are water, light, wind, soil, minerals, and gases. In biotic, examples are all living things such as plants, animals, fungi, bacteria. Factors involved in abiotic are categorized as climatic, edaphic, and physiographic, while in biotic, we have producers, consumers, and decomposers. Take note that once there is an imbalance between biotic and abiotic components, individual or species, population, community, ecosystem, biosphere will be greatly affected. So for your assignment, kindly answer your module from pages 27 to 28. At this point, we shall be having our question and answer from you. Let me see here. Our first question is from student in Dalandanan National High School. Ma'am, do the biotic and abiotic factors within an ecosystem interact with one another? Thank you for this question. The answer is yes. They need to interact with one another. Generally, abiotic factors like rock, soil, and water interact with biotic factors in the form of providing nourishment and nutrients. For example, humans, we make sure that we water the plants regularly and give enough care to the soil by giving